Okay, so I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint from last week and just kind of go over that really, really fast because Sister Knighton was not here, and I told her I would because I want her to just to kind of get a glimpse of what we did last week, but I will not really be referencing what we did last week much more in the course. It was really like a setup for tonight, okay? But I will take a moment to do that right quick. Let's see here. Let's see here. Drive. What I want is here. Oh boy, let's see here. Hang on, I'm trying to find my Zoom. There you go, right there. There you go. I'll share my screen, and I want to share this right here. Thank you for your patience. Right there. So what we did last week is we just started out with a very, very quick introduction of the historical developments of counseling theory. And we kind of went through them pretty fast last week, okay? Two different tracks when you're talking about these theories, Sister Knighton particularly. You got the sacred track, okay? That's your biblical counseling track. And then you got the secular. Okay, we've been doing a lot of sacred up to this point in the course, and tonight we start talking about some of those secular theories. Okay, looking at the secular, long past, about 2,000 years, rooted in philosophy. Okay, physiology, and then psychophysics. Physiology is study of the body parts, particularly the mind. Philosophy is trying to determine, the meaning of life. That's what philosophy is. And then psychophysics is, again, dealing with the mind itself and how it operates and how it functions, okay? Then we went through the founding of modern psychology, really got its roots in about the mid 1800s, so to speak, okay, in Germany. All right, that's the secular models. Then you got many different secular models right here. We're gonna be talking about some of these over the next few weeks. Okay. Then you got contemporary models. Okay. And of course, this is where we're going with these. We're going to be doing the 4 questions as we look at these different models. Okay. So that's kind of what we went over last week, Sister Knighton. I just wanted to show that to you. Okay. And where we're going tonight is we're going to start here with our first secular model. All right. Now let's see here. I'm doing a couple things. I'm going to send you guys these notes. Now, they're going to be like a separate group of notes for the second half of the course, which are going to just basically contain these different models. Okay. First half of the course, you got those notes all the way up to the midterm. Okay. These are going to be notes for the second half of the course, and it's going to be dealing with these different theories that we're going to be dealing with over the next few weeks. Okay. So, again, the 4 questions that you guys are going to be looking for, really it's 5 that you're going to be dealing with in each of these models. You want to be able to identify who the key figures are. Okay. What are some of the basic assumptions that they make with these theories? Okay. What is the goal of the counseling? All right. We've been doing that from a Christian perspective in the first half of the course. Okay. What are some of the strengths of these models? What are some of the limitations of these models? And then, of course, big is what techniques do they propagate that you could possibly use to integrate into your biblical approach to counseling. The last one is a star because it's a biggie. Okay. We don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Okay. Some of this got some useful stuff that could be very helpful to you in your biblical counseling. A lot of it, you probably don't want nothing to do with it, and rightfully so. But we're going to kind of deal with that as we kind of peel back the onion on each of these. Okay. I have a tool that I'm going to send you all to help you out. It looks like that. Okay. It's going to be a Word document, right? And you'll take this Word document, and it is something that you can just basically fill in as you go. Or if you want to go out through, you want to listen during the lecture and then like come back later on in the week and fill it in, you can do that. Okay. As a matter of fact, to make that a possibility, I'm going to go ahead and attach this chart in Word form in your email right now. You just give me just a moment. I meant to do this earlier today. Okay, let's see. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and get you all this right now. Let's see. Okay, so everybody you'll be able to find that in your email. Okay, you got a copy of the chart in your email. Okay, you can use it now, or you can go back and you can kind of plug it in later on during the week if you wish, because I'm going to send you the notes. Okay, all right. Here's your first one. I know this is your guy right here. Minister Sean likes this guy right here. This is your psychoanalytic school. Okay. Sigmund Freud is your main guy. Okay. Psychoanalytic theory or school of counseling. Okay. The psychoanalytic model. Sigmund Freud is considered the father of psychoanalysis. Okay, that's what we're talking about right here. Psychoanalysis. His first theory was the seduction theory. He attempted to explain hysterical symptoms by linking them to incidents of childhood seduction. Okay. Freud was big on going back and trying to get in touch with things that may have happened in the past and kind of unlocking how those things may have impacted us psychologically. Okay. And he would try to unlock those things and then analyze their impact on our mind and how we function. Hence, psychoanalysis. Okay? Psychoanalysis. Minister, you got experience in this, so you can feel free to add any, as we go along, because I know this is one of your favorite guys, so, okay? Okay. He came up with this concept. The it, the ego, the superego. The id, or it, contains the basic drives of the personality structure. Okay? It is totally focused on selfishness. Okay? It is totally desire driven. Right? Then you have, I'm going down to the opposite of that, the superego. It's often called your conscience. It strives to act socially appropriate. It's opposite of the it. And then you have the ego. And it balances the primitive drives in reality. It tries to please both the id and the ego. Okay? That's what it's doing. So it's the medium between the two. Right? One, totally selfish, want what it wants. The other one, high focused. Okay? Very high focused. Boom. The ego in the middle, trying to balance the two. He came out with what is known as the interpretation of dreams, Okay, dreams were symbolic and specific to the dreamer. Your dreams have meaning. You don't just be dreaming stuff. Okay, there's a reason why you dreaming that stuff. Right? We call dreams the royal road to the unconscious. Come on, let's talk. Come on, y'all, what y'all thinking about this? Anybody ever thought about this kind of stuff?
Yep.
Absolutely.
What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts? Come on, let's be honest. Now, I'm gonna tell you right now, okay? I don't want us to be afraid to talk about this kind of stuff. I told y'all how it was with me at DTS. Counselors were not afraid to be out of the box. They talked about it, okay? They ain't just talk only what the Bible says. I mean, you know, there'd probably be a lot of theologians mad that I just said that, okay? They would be disgusted. They would be done with me for making a statement like that, okay? But I'm just saying, okay, when I was in counseling courses at DTS, and I thought it was refreshing and appealing, they were talking about stuff that in the theology class and in the Bible class, you really couldn't talk about. Okay? It was taboo.
Right.
All right? But the counselors were not afraid to talk about it. Now, they ain't claiming to be right. They were just being honest about what they was thinking. Now, let's talk about it. What y'all ever thought about dreams? You ever thought about dreams?
Yeah, I was gonna say, first, of course, we think about, what are they, where they come from, and as we're little and we might be dreaming about something, we don't understand the ramifications of what that dream means. Like it might just be, I guess to little people, it might be like a Disney movie. I dreamed about this and it was fun. It was cute. It was this. But then as we get older, that's when you kind of sit into, okay, well, hold on. I dreamed about this and it didn't quite make sense. And so, but then when you have that's why when he talks about, the interpretation of dreams, actually having talked to someone or being able to sit down and that dream gets interpreted to you in a sense, and it actually makes sense based upon where you are in your life. So it's those types of things that, like I said, that he was talking about that can help bring out either issues that people may be having, things that, like I said, sometimes the underlinings of dreams. Well, one, I won't even say sometimes. Really, all the time, the underlining of dream is really something that has occurred or is occurring in your life, and so it might have that foundation might be something that, okay, if we sit down and we look at it, it can really tell a story of, okay, this is what's going on with a person. And a lot of people don't, and unless you dig deep into, what that might be, you don't catch it. You might just see it, okay, I dreamed about such and such, but then it's like, if you don't think about what it could possibly mean or what it's really telling you, then, you'll just let it, it'll come in and go. But then that's what he was really getting to about, like you said, the road to the unconscious. It's there for a reason. It's not something, not some fancy that just pops up out of the blue because you saw something you liked. It's there, and it's something going on underneath it that is telling you, that it's supposed to be telling you something. So
okay, I mean, I that's what I'm saying. I mean, yeah, I hear you. Okay, Sister Knighton, you ever thought about dreams? What do you think about dreams?
I have. I've thought about dreams when it comes to, my own. I've thought about dreams when I listen to interpreters and how they all correlate, and whether listening to interpretations, how do you know if what they're saying is, you know, the legitimacy of it, because sometimes words can influence belief and actions. And I think about if and how it's substantiated, and I think about how, I mean, if dreams are somehow connected, because you can't control the unconscious like you can't control the heart. And I think about if they are somehow connected, since it's all spiritual. And I know that there are times, there was a season when I wasn't dreaming, and it was very uncomfortable when I wasn't dreaming. And when I prayed about it, and my dreams came back. So what I wondered if they were therapeutic, you know, if they were my only means of communication between the two realms. Not to sound, you know, mystic or anything like that, but I believe that there is a lot of weight to understanding the pathway of dreams and how they fit into our realities. But I think that there is also a fine line in how we utilize them, and being able to, because I believe that dreams are a gift, and they carry a lot of weight when it's managed properly and with wisdom. And I say wisdom with godly wisdom.
Well, listen, I appreciate that. Couple things. I've never heard it described like that. You know, I wasn't dreaming and it disturbed me. That's a unique statement. I never heard anybody say that, but very insightful. I appreciate you sharing that. Okay. And then secondly, you know, I like the phrase that you use. You said not to, you know, not to sound mystic. And that's kind of what I'm saying. I don't want us to be afraid of as we talk through these theories. Okay. I want us to be free enough to talk without being judged. That's all I'm saying. It was like in the counseling arena. That's all I was trying to express. They were free enough to talk about these things, and they were not afraid of being judged. That makes sense?
It does. It really does. Because I know that there have been times where I've held back because I'm just trying to discern my audience, the people that are listening, because I know that everybody's not receptive, where I may be more in tune than some, you know, that they're not always receptive. So you don't feel free to fully express where it's coming from or where your thought processes are, you know, but I do appreciate you explaining that. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
yeah.
you know, because, you know, like the gift of prophecy, okay? I'm just going to use that as an example. You know, we don't find many people in our circle who claim to have the gift of prophecy, okay? In conservative circles, and Southern Bible is a conservative school, you do not find many people who claim to have the gift of prophecy. And I just want to warn us against being so conservative that we do not believe the gift of prophecy still exists. That's all I'm saying. Okay?
I appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah.
Sister Lacey, any thoughts on dreams?
Yeah, not basically in the same way, I guess, as some of the issues that you guys were saying. I hadn't really thought about them. You know, of course, we think about it from the biblical standpoint, to have them being symbolic and specific to the dreamer, or specific to the one that God wanted to use at that particular time, and giving interpretations to those who were given it, who he gave it to interpret to the others for his reason, to show his divinity and who he was and everything. And so, you know, you do think of dreams in being that way, but I also think about dreams as being specific to individuals, that things that they say they've had these dreams, and then what actually happened in the dream came true, where they were able to have a dream, specific dream, and it materialized. And that I do believe happened, because I know people where it has happened to. I've even myself. I mean, there's been even times where in my dreams I've solved problems at my job. And you know, there's things that sometimes when you think about, one person I know says he can control his dreams. And I started thinking about that, and I was like, you know, can I control my dreams? I mean, there has been times when I've had some nightmares, and I would realize in the dream that it is a dream, and would literally tell myself, all you got to do is wake up and you'll be out of it. So when you start thinking about the mind and what all the capabilities are, even in the midst of you being unconscious, in an unconscious state, I mean, there's a lot to think about. So, you know, I don't know how all of the part where, you know, where the things that, you know, where I'm solving problems, where people say things that actually come true. I mean, there's a lot to it, but I don't know how to define all of it, but
Well, you know, I mean,
that's just where I come from.
yeah, I mean, it's a process of discovery. So, yeah.
Mhm.
The conscious mind is what one is aware of at any particular moment. Memories, thoughts, feelings, fantasies. The preconscious mind works closely with the conscious mind. Okay? Memories in the preconscious can be brought to the conscious mind easily. Okay? Conscious and preconscious are the smallest parts of the brain. The largest part of the brain is the unconscious. Unconscious is the source of man's motivations, such as desires for sex, food, etc. So you got three: conscious, preconscious, unconscious. Okay, so can somebody tell me, like, what are those analogous to? Like, what are they similar to when we say preconscious and unconscious? Preconscious is right there. You can grab it and get to it right quick. Okay. Unconscious is deep. It's you can't hardly get to it. It's so much of it. Okay. But it's hard to get to. Hard to get to and bring it to the front. Some of it you can just grab it, bring it to the front. That's preconscious. Others of it, so deep, so much, it's hard to get it. Anybody got any thoughts on that? What that sound like? In other terms, what else could we call it besides the preconscious and the unconscious? Any thoughts?
Well, I mean, like right here where it says the unconscious, a source of man's motivation, such as desire, sex, food, etc. That to me seems because it's talking about a desire, like like it cannot be touched at all. It's like it's at a point of, it could get to a point where it's uncontrolled. So it requires a lot of intentionality to maintain it or to corral it, or and just like even food habits or whatever, sometimes you get those cravings that is hard to get them under control. But you're saying, if I'm not misunderstanding, you're saying that, well, I guess I'm saying the same thing. I mean, it's attainable. It's just going to require work.
It's going to require work. It's going to require work. So, in other words, if I met somebody last week and they gave me their number, okay, and I wanted to give them a call, where am I going to get that information from?
Hopefully it's in your contacts, in your phone.
Boy, stop.
But I have to know where to look in my phone.
Right. You have to recall what you've already stored. You've stored knowledge, you've stored information, so you have to recall. But in thinking about, but you're dealing, like in talking about dreams, is dealing with a lot of the unconscious. And like Sister Lacey was saying, my brother told me, I was telling him, because I am a dreamer. And that's why I guess it bothered me so, because I am a dreamer. And I believe with all my heart that God speaks to me in dreams. It's not like an all the time thing, but I know that there is information that comes from my dreams that have benefit in my reality. And I know that when I was telling my brother about one of my dreams, he said, in that situation, have you ever thought about controlling, like intentionally trying to control it with my voice, like speaking in that moment, like I think that's what Sister Lacey was saying, to come out of it or to change it or adjust it some kind of way. And that's never been something that has been a part of my even thought process. But for somebody to say something like that, is my wonder is if that's even something that could even happen, if that's something that is a trainable part of who we are, if that makes sense.
It does. And what I'm trying to pull out as we look at these theories, I'm trying to really make parallels and connections. Okay, I'm trying to make sense. Okay, so these are great minds. These are great minds and great thinkers. Okay, but Scripture also says there's nothing new under the sun. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is make parallels and connections to what we already know, either biblically or through some other science that we've studied, to see what could already be there, either before this or maybe it came after, that kind of parallels what we already know. So what I'm asking you guys, pre-conscious is there. I can get it quick and bring it to the forefront of my mind. That's short-term memory. That's short-term memory. Okay? How much stuff is stored in short-term memory? Probably not a whole lot. Right? What's the other part of the memory called?
Long term.
Long term, long term.
Long term.
Now, how much stuff is stored in the long-term memory?
A lot.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine?
You'd be surprised at
Can
what you
you
can recall.
imagine? Say it again, Minister.
I also say, yeah, you'd be surprised at what you can recall from many moons ago, only on one occurrence.
That's what that's what Freud was saying. That's what he said. He's saying it's there. It's there. The hard part is just getting it. But if your mind experienced it, you didn't lose it. It's there. Okay? And some of that stuff that's there is driving you to be the person who you are right now. You don't even know it though.
Yep.
You don't even know why you have an affection for A, B, and C. But it's tied into your experience or things that happen to you from the earliest of ages, of your ages, that is covered up by years and years and years of memory experiences that ain't nowhere near the front. They're way down there though, but they're there. So
And I was gonna say, I think part of the illusion of Freud, part of what a lot of people have a problem with, mind you, outside of like other psychologists, theologians, people who've actually studied, Freud and try to figure it out. One, people were afraid of the unknown, of what he was talking about, because they were uncomfortable with what he was trying to bring to their recollection. Because like you said, when you're talking about what drives us, those unconscious thoughts, those unconscious memories, those things that, especially when he started talking about those things that we have suppressed for whatever reason, and they're just pretty much right there boiling underneath the surface. And he's like, okay, I need you to bring it up. I need you to bring it up. He said, because unless you know what you're dealing with, he was like, you're not really gonna find out what the problem is. So I think that's the biggest thing with Freud. The good thing about him, Freud had issues. He did.
He did have issues.
But that was the whole point of not only counseling, but being able to go into that psychoanalytic realm, because yourself is your best example. Besides, if you're looking at, family members and things of that nature, yourself is your best example. Because like, okay, and if you can tell yourself, hey, look at here, I got problems. Now I got to figure out, okay, what is my problem and how do I get to what it is and figure out how to solve it, that type of thing. So yeah, we can go into his, psychosexual stages and all the other stuff and be like, okay, yeah, he has some issues, but he was, it might be uncomfortable, but brother knew what he was talking about. He was like, look, something happened to you, something may not have happened to you and you just don't know it, or something happened and you suppressed it, or something. You've had some memories, some thoughts, something that you grew up with, like you said, that has turned you into the man or the woman that you are today. And so like I said, Freud is I don't want to say a conundrum or an enigma. That's a good one. He's an enigma, but it just it kind of takes that little bit of crazy to be able to understand what he was talking about. But I mean, it points out, it helps point out who you are. So
Listen, I mean, like we said, we're looking for value in this stuff that 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 could possibly be useful to us as counselors. Just understanding human nature and how the mind works and all this kind of stuff. Getting to the point of who we are, who we truly are, and some of our issues. Because my mentor used to say this to me all the time. We all got issues. That's what he said to me all the time. Oedipus complex, one of the most influential as well as divisive theories of the 20th century, that's what Minister just talks about, refers to a stage in the development of young boys. At early age, around 5, boys wish to have all of their mother's love. Jealousy causes them to resent their father. Subconsciously, they wish for the death of their father. Again, very controversial theory here of Floyd's, okay, but very well known. All right, I guarantee you have some boys who are men who can testify to having gone through this experience, and then many who are not, of course. Believe that all human behaviors are motivated by sex or instincts. Okay, this is where Freud gets to be very controversial. Neurological representations of physical needs put much more emphasis on sexual need than any other. Okay, that's why Freud is so controversial. Freud's view of sexuality has intensive influence upon a number of thinkers. Freudian sex theories have been losing their appeal in modern psychology, however. Many consider the Oedipus complex an indecent and inadequate concept. Okay, it's indecent to think about young boys being physically attracted like that to their mothers. Let's do Freud on dreams, and then this is where we'll finish. Every dream is the fulfillment of a wish. Distressing dreams or nightmares are wishful fulfillments, but their true meanings are disguised. A powerful psychological force acts as a censor while we dream. The interpretation of dreams. When our dreams try to express wishes that our conscious mind would find distasteful or unpleasant, this psychological censorship distorts them in order to disguise their meaning. So again, he's saying it's hard to get to the true meaning of what the dream is because our mind won't allow us to go there. Some distressing dreams may simply come from masochistic inclinations. Again, Freud was big on the sexual stuff. Even the most upsetting dream content can stem from unconscious desires. There are two primary psychological functions that contribute to dream formation: the production of the dream thoughts and their transformation into the content of the dream. Manifest content, the obvious stuff of dreams. Latent content, the not so obvious stuff of dreams. Dreams provide a kind of psychological release. Okay. And of course, I think most of our dreams have obvious stuff. Manifest. It makes sense. And then you get the latent stuff. Like, where did that come from? It makes no sense. I think we all have those kind of dreams like, okay, so this makes sense in this dream, but what in the world why was this happening? The two worlds don't even match. The purpose of dream work is to give new forms to the latent content of dreams or dream thoughts. It does this through 4 primary methods: dream condensation, dream displacement, regard for representability, and secondary revision. All right, so we're going to stop right there. Next week, we'll get into psychoanalytic techniques. Okay, so that's just a background on Freud. okay? It's psychoanalysis, all that stuff, going back to our childhood, okay? Kind of helping drive us to the person who we are today. And then this whole conscious, subconscious thing.
Dr. Young, you see I was able to get back on.
Yes, ma'am, I saw you. Welcome back. So
And this will be put on the slides will be put on the email.
I will send the slides, but actually what I want to be able to do is, let me go ahead and send this part of the presentation. Okay, and then, matter of fact, I'll probably send these, and then you all, if you want to fill them in, I'll still go over the psychoanalytic, the techniques next week, because we got to go through the biblical congruency and all that kind of stuff. We want to compare, Freud's theories versus, where they line up with the Bible, where they don't, and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So we want to be able to do that. We're going to kind of talk from that perspective. Okay. So, Ms. May, I did send a chart. Okay. You'll find that in your emails. And you can use.
I already got it. I printed it out. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So you'll find your chart. Now, it might be easier to type on that chart, because when you typing on it, you can put as much information as you want to in those boxes, and the box will just keep expanding. Okay. When you do a Word document, you can type in that box as much as you want to. Okay, let's just say it's limitations, for example. And you say, this is a limitation, that's a limitation, this is a limitation. And you fill up the box and you run out of room, but as long as you keep typing, your box gonna keep growing. So that'd probably be a better solution than trying to, squeeze in what you want to squeeze in by writing. Okay. And then with the chart, if there's extra columns or something that, that I didn't include on the chart and you want to add it, it's a Word document, so you can do that. You can tweak it and manipulate it as much as you want to. You can add a row, or you can add a column if you like. Okay?
That's great.
Whatever works for you, it's your tool to learn about these theories. Okay? And then when you take your exam, you're just going to take your chart and you're going to study your chart, and that's what your final exam is going to be on.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding you. As we go through the theories, we're going to note these theories under where it says name of theory, and then we're going to more or less put notes in those different boxes pertaining to those specific theories. Or is this associated to us, or is this something that we are looking outward and gathering information that we'll take into this conversation? Did I miss something in that?
So let's start on this one together, okay? What's the name of the one we did tonight? Unmute, sir.
Fraud. We talked about Freudian theory.
I also say psychoanalytic.
So the name would be psychoanalytic, okay? Or psychoanalysis. That's what go on this first box right here, psychoanalysis or psychoanalytic, okay? Who's your key figure?
Sigmund Freud.
Amen.
Sigmund Freud. That's going to be your key figure, okay? Any assumptions? I mean, I know we're not finished yet, but any assumptions? Anything so far?
And we're crazy because we didn't finish
Right, we're
stuff
crazy.
with
No.
our parents.
Say it again. Say what, Miss May?
Oh no, I was trying to be funny. But a lot of issues are related to our how we reacted to our parents or father or mother.
Excellent assumption. Issues are related to childhood. Excellent
Yeah.
assumption. That's a great statement. Your issues are related to your childhood. There it is right there.
That's it.
And then we can talk about strengths. Okay. We can talk about limitations. Okay. Next week we're going to cover techniques. Okay. We haven't gotten to that yet. When we go through the biblical congruency, incongruency, we'll be able to talk about strengths and limitations there as well. But some of you may have a strength right now. Anybody got a strength of this, what we've talked about so far? Just somebody just give me one strength.
I don't want to go into that. Yeah, I don't want to really go into that. No. Yeah, no. Because sometimes that can be a strength, but that could be a limitation too.
It could cut both ways. That's very good, Minister. Some of it could cut both ways. Okay, but just somebody just tell me one thing that you say. Well, you look at Floyd's work. You got to say at least. Anybody got an at least one thing you can say about Floyd's work?
I mean, if you look at it from the perspective of what we just mentioned about something happening in our younger years that has influenced to where it affect us in our adult years, I can say a strength from that is in transparency. When I was a little girl, my parents, they didn't, and this might sound trivial to some, but it was something to me. They took no baby pictures of me. And as I gotten older through school, they didn't know when my actual date of birth was. I celebrated like 3 different birthdays because they didn't remember my birthday. And then when I found my birth certificate, I knew what it was. And then I just kind of held on to it for myself. But for me, it didn't really force me, but I found myself compelled to find my foundation. I needed a foundation that I never really talked about. So I dove into, that was one of the reasons I dove into finding my identity, finding my worth in Christ, and finding my centeredness, my stamina, so to speak. So for me, it gave me another reinforcing thread to prepare, push myself harder to understand who I was in Him. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I can tell you right now, as you begin to tell your story, I believe most people have a story about how something in their childhood hurt them, damaged them, whatever. Okay? And it still lingers as a memory today. Okay? I'm a firm believer. Now, I can't say it's 100% universal. I wouldn't go that far. However, but I think a strength of this model is that it will resonate with a ton of people who have experienced some kind of damage in their childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, because I was gonna say one of the biggest things that Freud talks about that we as a people deal with draws from that, because you're dealing with your it becomes a defense mechanism.
Right.
All your defense mechanisms that you identify with to bring you through, or take you from one memory to the next. I mean, I don't want to go through all of those, but we go through them literally, like, just depending on the people that we surround ourselves with.
Right.
A lot of times there is a different form of a defense mechanism that we might use amongst those people. So it is. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, like you said, it's on one side, we might try to identify with a particular person, a particular group, or a particular thing, just so we can feel that we we're with them, so to speak. We might go through denial purposes. I mean, projection, displacement. I can't think of all of them, but yeah, that.
I was thinking, Dr. Young, that one of the strengths could be if you had a client, and I may be thinking wrong, and they had a reasonably normal childhood, whatever that normal means, and yet they were still having issues. That may be one of the things you could X off and may move on to where, were they abused in college, or was it an abusive marriage, something of that nature. There are maybe, some people, I don't know who may have just had a really idyllic childhood and there isn't any trauma or any hidden things, but yet here they are still in our office. So we could lay the Freudian theory aside and move on to some of the other ones we're going to talk about, because evidently that one doesn't apply to this person that's here. And then we may could, meet them where they are. They're not, they had a good dad, had a good mom, had great grandparents, yada, yada. But yet here they are still in our office. So where did the train get off the track?
In a situation like that, would it be considered short term?
It depends on how long ago it occurred. Like Sister May said, it depends on how long, because they could be an adult versus child. It didn't happen in childhood, but it could have happened as a young adult. Could have happened as a college student. Could have happened in a early first marriage. So, it depends on how long ago it was. It could be a short term or a long term, so good point. It doesn't necessarily have to be a childhood trauma kind of thing. And I think you're right, Sister May, like not everybody had trauma in their childhood. Okay. So that's a very good point. But I think you still don't lose the fact that psychoanalytical approach is still trying to identify the source of the trauma and then analyze how it is affecting you now. Now, Freud is saying most of it is going to go back to your childhood. But like what you're saying, not necessarily. So you want to just be able to keep that in mind.
And then, like we said, like we talked about, make sure it's not something that they've suppressed.
Yeah, that's all you. And see the thing about it, and I appreciate you keep saying that, because what he's trying to do, and what the model is trying to do, is peel back the layers of the onion. Okay. And like you said, Sister Knight, and like Sister May said, maybe it ain't all the way back to the childhood. But there are some layers that is trying to be peeled back to get to the heart of the matter. That's the whole approach about psychoanalytical. Okay? That's the whole idea behind it. All the way back to the childhood if necessary. Let me say it like that. All the way back to childhood if necessary. Sister Lacey, how about it?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the best place to start, because it eliminates. So if you go back to the childhood, which we know a lot of people are impacted by how they're raised and things that have impacted them, it could be something just really, really slight. Really, it could be something maybe that was just said and the child took it the wrong way and it impacted them, even though the adult didn't realize at that particular time would have such a negative effect on the child, but that child carried it all the way through life. So I think that that's one of the strengths, is that it gives you a starting point, because otherwise you would be juggling where, where to start. At least fraud does give you a starting point. You can go from there.
Hey, listen, I got one now. I'm not sure if I put this in the techniques, but I just got a revelation because I've been using this for a while, and I want you all to consider it. It is a Christian tool, and we find it being used a lot in the church and in the counseling setting. It is having somebody tell their life story. Okay? Very common. We got these leadership classes at Oak Cliff right now. Every leader makes a life map, and they're sharing their life story. Okay? Do you realize what kind of stuff is being reflected upon when they're making these life maps? Very therapeutic. Very therapeutic. Okay? Just think about it. It's a Christian tool where we say, here's another word we use for it: your testimony. Share your testimony. And then people start telling their story, and most of them go back to their childhood or whatever, and they start telling about what God did. This is where I was, this is where I started, this is where I met the Lord. Listen, parallel to what we're saying here with this whole psychoanalytic, without going deep with it, without even trying to psychoanalyze it, you kind of having them starting to peel back the onion. That's what psychoanalysis is doing, peeling back the onion. All right, so excellent discussion, guys. I really enjoyed it. Okay. Thank you all. I'll get you the notes and continue reading Spirit of Disciplines. That will help. That will help with some of these techniques, because we want biblical techniques when we're working with our clients. And you may be able to see how some of those techniques may fit in some of these models. Okay. So just kind of keep that in mind. That's why I'm having you all do the Spirit of the Disciplines. Okay. It's all about techniques. It's all about the spiritual life. Okay. Discipline, change, all that's running together. Okay. All right. Change labs next week. So I know y'all got work to do. Any questions before we close out? Don't forget to send me that email, Sister Knight, so I can give you your points.
Absolutely. I need my points. All of them.
I was just a question. So, like you said earlier, do they want us to do them again?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Y'all are good. They just,
It was like this stuff right now.
they wanted feedback from as many students as possible, because they're trying to make decisions for next semester.
Okay.
So,
And it does make sense, because like you said, with so much going on right now, we don't know. We don't know. We're gonna be shut back down. We're gonna be, how we looking? How we gonna be looking? So yeah.
we just don't know.
Okay.
Somebody out there saying we're about to turn the corner and it's getting better, but the numbers keep going the wrong direction.
Yeah. And I had just read in my Newsbreak app that pops up, they were talking about how some people over, I think it was South Korea or somewhere, had recently died after their flu vaccination. but they were saying that, telling everybody, don't worry, continue to go ahead and get your flu shot and all this other stuff. But it's like, it's so much going on. It's like, you don't know, okay, look, do I believe you over here? Because you're supposed to be the expert. Do I believe these numbers? But yet, even with the numbers, they still talk about, well, how far behind we are, with the reporting and stuff like that, where we are now. It's like, schools are still trying to figure out what they're going to do. You got people going in and out of work. It was like, this election's going on next week. I'm like, look here, come on. Somebody tell me something. It was like, do I want to be afraid to walk back out my door? Like,
Well, I hope
can
not.
I just stay in for another 6 months?
All right, good folks. If it ain't nothing else, I'm gonna pray us out. Y'all good with that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, y'all have a fantastic week then, okay? And
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you again next week. Father, you're awesome. We love you, and we thank you for today. What a wonderful class we had. Thank you for these students and for all that they have on their plates, school and taking care of families and work and all that's required of them. Thank you that you have given them the opportunity to meet on Mondays like this. It truly is a blessing for each of us. So we just give you the glory for it. And I just pray that you will keep each student safe, and not just them, their families as well, and give them blessings and favor that only come from the Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Y'all have a good week, everybody.
Amen.
Bless
Good
my
night,
people.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Stay safe.
Good night.
You too.